There we go. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Evil Live. My name is the Evil Tyrone. Got my guest Victoria Vertuga, writer, director, actress, producer. Just all around, just amazing person. I'm so excited to have her on the show today. And we're also going to be talking about her movie, which you should check out. It's on Amazon Prime and Tubi right now. Lexi, which is it's a very, very good movie. Like I really, really enjoyed it. A few creepy moments for me. But it, but it all landed. But yes, welcome to the show. Like, how are
Thanks
you
for
feeling
having
today?
me. I'm good. Can't complain. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh yes, oh yes. Thank you for coming. I guess we could start it off with how did you get into horror? Like, what's your
Yeah.
horror origin
My
story?
horror origin story. So it's funny. I just did a podcast with Ken Sledge, my first horror, talking about it. So my very first horror movie was Silence of the Lambs,
Ooh.
because which is such a classic. I'm gonna call it a horror. I know some people will debate, but let's call it a horror movie because it's a horror movie. Um,
Yes.
so when I was like 8 or 9, my dad thought it would be great for like me and my big sister to watch that together. And then he's a psychiatrist, so when we find out that Hannibal Lecter is a psychiatrist, he's a psychiatrist like me. To be like, "Oh, what the hell?" And then he proceeded to hide under my big sister's bed until she fell asleep, and then jump out at her later that night. So that was
Wow.
yeah, it's responsible for her being afraid of the dark. So good times. Yeah. So I that was kind of my intro to horror, but I think there's just something so human about like the horror experience and wanting to be scared, and then when we think we got and we get away, it's like you have a rush of adrenaline and the laughing at yourself for like getting got by the jump scares, and just also exploring the dark side of humanity. You can't light can't exist without dark, so it's interesting to explore that in juxtaposition and dive into those kinds of stories and that kind of those kinds of components of life. So yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes. I'm glad, because everybody has like a different, horror origin story,
Yeah.
and what their first horror movie was, and you're the first one who mentioned Silence of the Lambs. So I'm glad, showing
Nice.
showing Hannibal Lecter, some love, Buffalo
Oh yeah.
Bill some love.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, that the why am I blanking on the guy? Gare was Chris, whatever. The character, the real life serial killer that he's based on is the reference for like so many horror movies and people throughout history. The guy who would like skin them alive and wear their
Oh
skin and
yes.
whatever. Ooh, yeah, creepy shit. Creepy
Oh
shit.
yes. Now, my next question would be: do you have a favorite subgenre of horror? You know.
So yeah, it's funny for me. I really like, and I'm not even sure what genre you would call this really. I like my horror to be really like gritty and grounded. So like a lot of what I really love is like on that fence where people are like, is it a horror movie? Is it not? So like I love Silence of the Lambs. I love Seven.
Yes.
Recently I loved The Black Phone.
Yes. Love Black
So
Phone.
good. So for me, I like it to be really like dark and gritty and grounded. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
subgenre that is for you. And then I do also enjoy horror comedy, like along the lines of blah, 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 blah. Oh my god, why can't I think of it? Ready Set. What is it? It's recent-ish. Oh my god, why am I blanking? The girl who wants to get married, she wants to
Uh,
have a family, and she gets married.
ready or not.
Ready or Not? Is that it?
Yes.
Yes, Ready
Yes.
or
Ready or
Not. Like
not.
that, the tone of that to me is like very similar to kind of like what I tend to write, where it's like darkly funny and but also like So I like that kind of vibe as well. Yeah, I would say those are probably, if I'm gonna seek it out or whatever, it's probably like something really dark and gritty and like suspenseful and psychological, or something like horror comedy ish.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now.
What's
Now.
yours?
Oh, mine would be demons. Like, I
Oh,
love
demons.
I love possession horror. Like
Possession's good.
Night of the
Yeah.
Demons and like Evil Dead, stuff like that. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
just.
Evil Dead's so good. That's so funny. Yeah, so I write with a partner usually, and we're like totally opposite because he loves like anything demon and zombie and whatever, and I'm like, make it grounded, make it you know what I mean? It's like so funny. So I feel you. It's that's the beauty though. There's like so much diversity and variety within the
Yes.
genre of horror. Like it encompasses so many things. So
Yeah. Yes.
yeah,
And there's always a way to, ground horror. It's just the way, it's just how you tell the story.
totally, totally, yes.
There's always a way. Now, my next question would be, since you are making films yourself,
Yeah.
is there a film that you wish that you could have been on the set for?
Oh,
Like,
so friggin' many. I mean, yeah, I really liked the Black Phone. I think that was really, really dope. I think Smile looks like it's gonna be really good too. That'll be my
oh
shit.
yeah,
So yeah, it's also like I tend to do more recent things because since I started creating and writing myself, I'm always watching the things that I'm watching now with like that mind in, with that mindset, with the producer's mindset. Like, how did they accomplish this? Like, do I like the cinematography and da 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 da. So like, I tend to use that brain with like the more recent stuff. But I think Ready or Not 2 was really cool because I feel like that felt like a movie that is very doable on like a limited budget if you just have like
yeah,
a different cast and like, because it's like one location. It was like mostly inside, some exteriors, whatever. So I'm always approaching it with like that kind of brain where I'm like, I wonder what this cost, and like I wonder how. Okay, it's 2 locations. Okay, and it's a cast of this many. you know. So yes, the answer is yes to every and all of them. I would like to be on every because I'm also really nosy and I want to know how people do things and what what it's like. So
yes, yes. Now, speaking of Ready or Not, like I always ask people,
yeah,
what did you think of the ending? Because I completely did not see that coming at
yeah,
all.
it's funny. I think one of my problems with it, or not something that kind of like whatever me, is that I feel like they didn't want to kill anybody of the main cast because they were saving, but then we see the ending. Are we spoiling it? Are we allowed to? It's like so old. We're
No,
allowed
we
to, right?
spoilers.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, man, that's on you. So you could see that they were saving it up because they wanted that dramatic ending, right? But I felt
yes,
like, I'm like, why is nobody dying except for the 3 maids who like were clearly existed just to die as like the running gag. So I was like, kind of, it felt to me, it took a little bit of the stakes away because I was like, nobody, like the main people just keep not dying. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Until that very end. So that's again, that's like very producery brain thinking about it. But no, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was when I saw that, I was like, like that's, here we go. That's the answer to why, because they were like saving it up for the dramatic ending,
yeah,
And I
yeah,
love, for me, like from a structure, like from a screenplay standpoint, like it's like a character thinks they want something, they get it, they don't want it, whatever. So it was really great dramatic irony in that because she wanted to be part of a family. Like, she gets to be part of a family. The catch is they're fucking crazy and they got to play this game where they're trying to kill you, And so then at the end, for her to have like come out of it now kind of with a stronger sense of herself and feeling like she doesn't need a family was like a nice journey. It made like the journey of her character interesting.
yes.
I'm getting all screenwritery
Oh,
now.
oh no, not a, I love the talk. I love when people, just go off of what they're passionate about. You could tell you're very passionate about it. This is what you do. And you brought something to my attention because I'm like, I didn't even think of that. Like a lot of the main characters didn't die, until the end because of, what happens.
Because
So
they wanted to save it up for that dramatic ending. But yeah, so I'm
uh-huh.
watching, I'm going like, why are we like, we were just killing the maids? Why are we not killing anybody else? What's going on? Yeah, but I mean, you got it. It's great. It was a great ending. I mean, fun. It was a fun, it was like a fun watch, right? Just like a
Oh yeah.
fun movie.
Oh yeah. Now my next question would be, does horror or film in general do anything for your mental health? Because I talk to a lot of people and they say it helps them, in many different ways. So does it do anything for your mental health?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think when you're a creative, especially, it's like it's a need to create, right? So how you're doing it may differ, maybe different things in your lifetime. You may decide to create in different ways, but like the need is there. So I think that, like, yes, filmmaking for me absolutely satisfies that itch. And what's been really cool about filmmaking in general as well is that, I started as an actor. So as an actor, there's so many things that are completely out of your control, and you're such a limited part of the process, with such little like autonomy and say, and like really even insight into like what the finished product is going to be. It has nothing to do with you,
Yes.
right? You're just like a little piece of this giant cog. So stepping into the role of like writing and directing and producing and really being able to kind of control things. I'm a control freak. Yes, type A. Like really has been awesome for me because I think it allows me to feel like I have a voice, right? Like I have a say, and I am able to like contribute in more ways and do more things and like set the tone. So for me, that's everything. That's been hugely important for me.
Awesome, awesome. Now, do you have a favorite horror villain? You know,
Oh, hmm. Hmm. There's so many good ones. I mean, obviously, so I'm always gonna like Hannibal Lecter. I thought
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the guy's name was. What was his name in Black Phone? Did he have a name? Ethan
Uh,
Hawke's character.
yeah,
I don't know.
I just called him creepy,
Yeah,
creepy
creepy
Hawk.
mask dude, whatever. That was a great role. Like, yeah. I mean, if we're talking about like, uh, you know, Freddy, Jason, like slashery ones. I don't know. I don't know. See, those tend to not be like we don't really know anything about them, right? That's the whole point. It's like they're kind of this mysterious entity that just like does this stuff. So I'm always into like origin stories if that is the case. Like I love
Yes.
origin stories because I would want to delve into like the psychology of who this person is. So I tend to like it more when we know more about the villain and we know more about like what's motivating them and what makes them tick, you know? But
Oh
yeah,
yes. Oh
yeah,
yes.
so fun. Also like to play. So fun. Those are awesome.
Give him a backstory. So
Yeah,
how is it playing a villain? You know, how is it playing? You know, just getting to step outside of yourself. You know, and getting into that villain
amazing.
role.
Well, I think like what's so cool about one of my favorite things about acting is it's like putting yourself in this set of circumstances and asking yourself like what set of circumstances would allow me to like behave this way, say these things, you know, act this way. So no one ever thinks they're a villain, right? Even if you look at historical figures throughout time, no one's casting themselves as the villain. They think they're saving the world, changing things for the better, or whatever the fuck, right? Like it's the lies that we tell ourselves to make it
Yes.
okay or whatever. So that's kind of how you have to delve into that, which is really it's an interesting thought exercise because it's like, what am I telling myself? Like, you know, what thoughts am I thinking about how I'm behaving and what I'm doing? And what I found for me, just personally, because you know, as an actor, you get used to like you get very in tune with like like your locators, like like what allows you to connect to the material easily, or what allows you to like get into that mindset easily. So for me, like self-loathing is really big. I don't know why. I guess that whatever. So I think a lot of times we look at villains and we think that they are always okay with everything they're doing. But like think about it being a normal person in your day. Like how many times do you say something and you're like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that, or you behave in a way and you're like, oh, that wasn't my
Yeah.
finest moment, right? So I think it's totally fair for even you as a villain to be like, why am I doing this? Like, I can't stop myself from like behaving this way. So to have some of that self-loathing in there, just for me, is a kind of a quick way for me to like get into that mindset and like wrap my head around, you know, why I might be doing these things. Like I can hate what I'm doing too, right? It's like I can hate
Yes.
it, but be unable to stop myself, you know?
Oh yes. Oh yes. It makes sense. You know, you just get in that mindset and you get to express it a certain way, but in a
Yeah,
way that you choose, you know, and the
totally.
collaboration between you and, you know, who's making the film.
Absolutely. And like one thing that's really fun too, I will say is like I think as a person in real life, I care so much about so many things. So when you're
Hmm.
playing someone who doesn't give a fuck, like it's such an amazing freeing experience because you're like, I spend so much of my life constantly caring about so many things. So it's like amazingly awesome to just be like, haha, I don't care, like screw it. You know what I mean? I get to have like so much fun with those roles where I get to just like not care. You know, it's
Oh
because
yeah.
like you know it's just a very like freeing experience, so that can be really fun too.
Yes, it's like it's I guess it's kind of like therapy in a bit, you know, because they
Totally.
don't know what you're necessarily drawing these emotions from, you know, or experiences from, but you know, you can just expel them out, you know,
Absolutely.
in that
And I
moment.
think that's part of what's really fun too is I think like as a you know so much of us like living our day to day, we're trying not to feel things, right? We're trying to like to dampen those emotions and like keep it down and whatever and get it together and like power through and da da da. So to
Yes.
be in a profession where like it's all about like having those feelings and allowing yourself to feel that stuff, like it's weirdly fun, even if it's dark and gritty and grimy stuff or like hard stuff or sad stuff. Like the fact that you get to like spend your day feeling things and experiencing things is cool. Like it's like there's a rush that comes from that, even if what you're feeling is not great. You know what I mean?
Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes. Now, one of our commenters, double horror pack, Mika, shout out to you for being
What
in
up,
the
Mika?
room. Shout out to Sooth and Smooth as well. But Mika says filmmaking is such a great way to creatively express yourself. The stories are endless, and I agree. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And what's really cool about storytelling in general is there's this like paradox that happens where the more specific you are with your story and your experience, the more relatable it becomes because like through your specifics someone else just applies their own, and it's really all
Yes.
about like the human experience, which regardless of what, you know, boxes we check or what our lives are like, the general experience of being a human being in the world is pretty much the same. So
Yes.
it's beautiful in that way that like you can tell such a specific story and have people relate to it in so many different ways because what you're talking about, you know, the themes of the human experience that you're expressing and talking about are universal, you know?
Now, do you have a favorite final girl, or a horror hero,
I mean,
in the
Jamie Lee Curtis is such a great final girl.
yes.
Yeah, I feel like so the film that we just locked and wrapped or whatever, is with Jamie Bernadette is in it, and I feel like she always plays an awesome final girl. And I Spit
Yes.
on Your Grave, Deja Vu, she's great. So yeah,
Yes.
she's a great final girl too. Oh, there's so many good ones. Yeah, it's always good when they're like they step into their power. That like to see them step into their power over the course of the movie is always really fun.
Yes, yes. It's always nice to see, because it's like, you see this person go through all this shit, and you're just looking at yourself and you're like, well, damn, I'm over here whining about this ticket that I got on my car, but this
Exactly.
this person just went through hell,
Literally,
so.
yes, totally.
And there's actually this place, I think it's on the West Coast somewhere. It's like this farm where you can pretty much, you sign a waiver and you
Uh-huh.
go through a horror experience. Like they
What?
put their hands on you, they drag you through the mud, they tie you up, they lock you in things, they slap you around. Like, you may get bruised up and stuff, but people
That's
pay a
crazy
lot of money
to
to
go
do
through
it.
that.
Yeah.
Well, because I think again, it's like to go through that and come out the other end is very empowering, and to know that like you could do that and you did that and have that adrenaline rush of having like survived that thing is very cool, right? It's like, yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's you got to just be in a
Sigourney Weaver,
certain
yes.
mindset.
Sigourney Weaver, sorry, she's saying Sigourney Weaver. Also excellent final girl. Yeah, so many good ones.
Sigourney Weaver, just amazing,
Yeah, so good.
amazing.
So
Yeah,
good.
especially, given what she was given in Alien, and a couple of the other roles that she had, in the genre. It's just,
Totally.
she's cemented herself,
Yes.
amongst the Legion, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That is, yes.
But yeah, I guess, we can now transition to the lexicons,
The
to
lexicons. Thank you for
yeah.
using my annoying vernacular in the thing. Yes.
Yes, because I loved it. We're talking about, her film Lexi, which is available right now again on Tubi and Amazon Prime. You should definitely check it out. It's definitely worth your time. And just your character, because I like Sledgehammer Horror. He told me about you, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me check this girl out. And I
Yeah.
just, like, you're such a great actress.
Thank you.
Yeah, like, you really did your thing. And, like, I know you said, the little annoying phrases or whatever, but it sells the movie for me. Like, it.
Dude, totally. Because I did a lot of research into self-help like vlogger space, and like no disrespect. Love you all, do your thing. But man, it's a little, the people are a little extra, whatever. And I also wanted it, without spoiling everything, I wanted people to be a little annoyed by her off the bat with Lexi, so that they kind of want, there's that Schadenfreude thing, right? Where you want something bad to happen to her, you're like, this fucking bitch, like, shut up. And then you see stuff happening and you sort of feel bad. You're like, ooh, I don't know, I shouldn't have wanted that bad thing to happen. Maybe that's just me. I have like so much Catholic guilt. Like, there's characters I'm like, I hate this person. Hurry up and die already. But then they like take me on a journey and I feel bad for that person. And I'm like, oh, and I feel bad. I wanted them to die. So yeah, I did a lot of research on the like self-help vloggers stuff that was out there, and I like Lexi's like very toned down even in relation to some, but I definitely wanted her to have a little bit of that, where they call their fans names and like, you know what I mean? It's a whole thing, and they have their little catchphrases and their stuff and whatever. So yeah, I definitely wanted to have that in there.
Oh
Because
yeah, even.
also, like, some of my writing partner were like, we have a very similar sense of humor. Obviously, that's why we work well. Like, we just want to make each other laugh and like whatever. So much of it is just like us giggling at our stupidity, like, and hopefully some other people find it funny too.
Oh
Like,
yes, oh yes. It,
yeah,
it definitely sold, the story for me, and just the certain elements. Even the title card,
yes.
just kept popping up like.
And that's what we like too, like the little jingle. I like yes, and to have it like as she's starting to descend into whatever's happening, and it gets darker and weirder, like to have that juxtaposed with that little like jingle was just really funny to me. So like that just continues throughout the whole movie. I find it funny. So yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes. There were a lot of creepy moments. Like, I love the way you shot the film. Like, because I didn't think it was going to be, shot in that way. Like, I saw the cover, the banner, and I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. And then I see the movie, and it's you use like the security camera footage and
Yes.
cell phone footage and
Yes.
just and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, just how you can still craft a story like that, because I don't know, you've seen like some movies like a Host, has done it
Totally.
with
With
like
the Zoom
Zoom, and
cameras. Yep.
it's just amazing what we can do now with the technology that we have.
Totally. And I think Host, I mean, same thing with our film. Like we shot it during the early lockdown days of COVID because everything was shut down. The industry was completely shut down. The project that we had planned was on hold because, again, you couldn't shoot. So it was like, what can I come up with? Again, back to that need to be creative, right? I
Yeah.
started to stir crazy. So I'm like, what can I come up with, with this set of circumstances? So like, I can't leave my house. Like, so what can I come up with? Like, why is this girl in her house? What can we incorporate? And I'd always been interested in the story of Elisa Lam, which funny enough, like after we filmed Lexi before it was out, there's that Netflix documentary that came out about the Cecil Hotel, about that story.
Oh
Just because
yes.
there's that like security camera footage of her in the elevator that went viral, and it's very weird because like you see her and she's behaving oddly, and you're like, but it's all about what you can't see. To me, it's like so you see her,
Yes.
but you're like, is somebody on the other side of that camera? Like, is there a person? Is she talking to somebody, or is she just acting cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Like what you can't see. So, and I found that fact that it was security camera footage just really compelling. And I was like, it's weird that no one's done a movie with security camera footage specifically. Like it's always like cameras, but it's not security cameras because there's something like inherently compelling about the security camera footage to me. So that's why we came up with that idea. I was like, all right, so let's tell the story like through her own stuff so we can like, help flesh it out, whatever, but like through the use of the security camera footage and have it be about like what you're not seeing, right? Like what's
Hmm.
happening just out of frame or what's happened right before we see this footage. Like, the questions that aren't being answered with the footage was really interesting to me.
Yes, it's funny you bring up the Cecil Hotel because like
Yeah,
when I read the premise of Lexi, I was like, and then I started watching. I'm like, damn, this does remind me a little bit of that those elements, and it which added to the creep factor for me.
totally. Totally. Because we wanted it to feel like things could happen. Like we wanted when the security camera footage came on, you to be like looking around the whole frame, trying to figure out like what's going to happen,
Yes.
where's it going to come from. So there's like kind of that anticipation of like, is it what am I, that kind of creates the like built-in suspense or tension, which is really cool.
Oh yes, yes. Mika says yes. Technology has advanced immensely. With that, we are able to do so many things. Technology can also be detrimental and scary.
Totally.
Fact.
Totally.
Which
So true.
we get a little bit of in the like. I don't want to spoil anything, but we get a
Yes.
little bit of in the film. Which
Totally.
is, it was very unsettling. Certain parts very unsettling.
Yes, totally. It's funny too. It's funny how it's hit different for people like a lot of my like female friends who live alone. It's like way creepier for them than it is for like, just because of that, because of the fact that, she lives alone and there's all this stuff happening and whatever. So it's just interesting how it hits different for different people depending on like what their circumstances are, right?
But that's another thing. Like it's funny you mentioned that because like Lexi, she has three dogs, and they're with her, and I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, because I don't have any dogs at the moment, but I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, that would maybe give me some sense of
Of security.
security, if I had three dogs, that could just hop up at any moment, charge whomever,
Yep.
and it's but still there's certain things that even the dogs are like
Yeah, totally. It's so funny. So yeah, so like I said, we filmed this during COVID. So those are my dogs. So I was like, do I film around my dogs and like have them created and whatever, or do I just have Lexi have dogs? So I was like, you know what, Lexi's gonna have some dogs, and it was kind of funny because my dogs are so chill, as you can imagine, based on the movie.
yes.
So if we wanted to have any kind of reaction from them, it had to be the first take. Otherwise, they just don't care. They're like they just don't care about anything. They're like whatever, and they're so used to me. I'm such like an animated like person that I feel like their level of like what's weird to them is so so high because they're just like used to me. So yeah, they were not bothered by much. But every once in a while, you could get a reaction out of them that I was like, oh, that's awesome. The dog's reaction really sells it. Yeah, good times. These are. It's funny because like again, the circumstances of making it were so weird because it was COVID. But people are like, "Where'd you find the house? And where'd you find the dogs?" I'm like, "My house and my dogs." But so funny.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was very interesting. Just how everything came together. The some of the unsettling elements. Because she is a social media influencer, and she has to put herself out there and
Yes.
record on a schedule. And
Yes.
then you got to think about like the people who are watching this. And the
Yes.
creep factor with that. Like, oh, what's going on there?
Totally. And that was something I definitely wanted to explore as well. There's something, I mean, just, you know, social media in general, but even fame and celebrity in a larger sense, it's like when you're putting yourself out there, what does that mean, right? And you're opening yourself up to so many things. You know, and there's also like a history we have of us as a culture kind of loving to watch people self-destruct. You know, you see it with like Britney Spears and Brittany Murphy, and there's a million people before that, but we kind of love to watch somebody spiral.
Yes.
It's, you know, it's kind of a gross piece of human nature, but I was just interested in that as well. You know, that you have this girl who's like, you know, an influencer and things seem like they're great and she's all about positivity. And then so like there's something sick and schadenfreude and whatever about people wanting to watch somebody like that just like lose their shit and have it taken away or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh
So I
yes.
kind of wanted to explore that element of it, as well as like the true crime thing. I'm like a true crime lover. I like podcasts, documentaries, books, whatever. I love it. But there's also an inherent grossness to it, right? Because it's like it's by definition you're exploiting a tragedy that's happened and making money
Yes.
off of it. You're commercializing a tragedy. So I kind of wanted to poke fun at that with the experts and the stuff and whatever. So I feel like that all that is very ripe for satire, you know?
Yeah, there were a few parts where I can see like the satirical elements, you know, blended in with like the horror elements. Like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed like when something would happen and then you'd hop back on camera and I could just see it in your eyes. Like that was the I mean, it was a lot of like weird stuff going on, but when you hop back on camera and I'm just looking at your eyes and it's just like I'm looking at the eyes of a woman who is frightened and you know does not know what's going
What's going
on,
on?
doesn't know who to trust, and this is what she does. Like this
Yeah.
is it's not like she can stop doing this. This is what
Right,
she does.
right, exactly. It's like to like have it to keep going on and like trying all the different tactics, right? Like let me ask for help, let me like try to pretend it's not happening, let me like right. It's all the different ways of dealing with this situation. That was really interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting thing to film because I mean, for so many reasons, but because so much of it was just me and a freaking iPhone, because we filmed the vlogs on the iPhone just because we wanted it to look like an actual, you know, vlog would and not make it
Mhm.
fancy.
Yeah.
So like I literally have nothing and no one. It's like me alone in a vacuum, like acting to the tiny camera, and it was such a weird, interesting experience that way. And very like challenging in its own way. You know what I mean? It took me a second to kind of find what that looked like for me and get into the rhythm of it. But it was a very cool acting exercise, I will say, because of
Oh
that.
yes. Oh yes. Mika says, yes, so true. It's sad that we are so fixated on watching other people's lives and watching someone not doing well. I don't know what that says about us as a
Yeah,
society.
yeah. It shines a light on a really not pretty piece of us. You know what I mean?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, which also brings up like I love the clips where you know you got commentary from
Yes.
her viewers, you know, and who
Yes.
you know some people who are positive but you know haters, you know, that are
100%, because
just
that's a piece of it, right? Yeah, like not
yes.
no matter what you're doing, not everyone is gonna like what you're selling, like period. So definitely we wanted to kind of bring that we came up with that idea as a way to kind of open the world, because again, you know, we're filming during COVID. It was very like limited. So I'm like, you know, how can we make this feel more open? Like how can we open this up and make it feel bigger? And so I was like, what if we have all these like fans and haters and people sounding off with their theories and their opinions and whatever? Because that's the internet. That's
Oh
like literally the
yes.
whole internet, right?
Oh
So yeah,
yes.
that was really fun. And it was fun to be like, you know, soliciting all this stuff and people sending their stuff in. I'm like, okay, you want to be a hater or a fan? Like, all right, talk some shit. Go on, do your thing. It was fun.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I also like the fact that it, you know, because some movies you watch it and you're like, okay, I see exactly what's going on. I see
Right.
exactly where it's gonna go, you know, or even when it ends, it's like, okay, that ended. But you know,
Exactly.
this story, I felt like I told myself, I'm like, I gotta watch this again, you know, sometime this week because you know there may be some stuff that I was missing, but
Missing.
I want to know like what was really going on, because in my mind I'm like it could be, you know, I could talk to someone and be like, oh, it's some true crime stuff, or you know something
Yes.
else, you
And
know.
that's been really funny. It's been cool to talk to people, because I feel like what they think happened is says more about them than it does about the movie. But that's why I like it, because it's like it is open for interpretation. And I know that's like, you know, that in and of itself is a very polarizing decision, but sometimes that's life, right? We don't have the answers, and that was really challenging when we were filming as well, because we wanted to make sure not to tip our hand in any direction. So there were a lot of
Yes.
ideas that I had during filming, some that we even shot, where I'm like, no, like that, like then we know it's a person, or then we know it has to be a person, it has to be supernatural, it has to be this. So we didn't want anything we had to come up with weird, mysterious things that were happening that could be explained by any of them, right? So
Yes.
so it's like we can't see a shadow of a human, because like that's going to show us like it's a person doing it, you know what I mean? So we had to come up with things that would leave it open-ended, and so that you're watching it trying to figure out, and it can go any way, you know? People, so I know I've gotten so many messages like, what happened to her, like tell me what, and I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you. But it's funny because even as like even the process of like writing it and stuff, I didn't want to tip my hand, you know what I mean? I didn't want to like decide as the writer. Do you know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think like you said, it depends on like what type of person you are and where your
Yeah,
mind goes. Because my mind, went in one direction, and that's why I want to rewatch it. Because I'm like, well, maybe I'm letting my bias,
yeah,
take
exactly.
the story where I want it to go.
Exactly. But it's probably one of those things too, which I love, because I'm a rewatcher. Like when I love something, I'll rewatch it a million times, like in the course of my life. And so sometimes it's really interesting to watch something just when you're at a very different place in your life, because your experience of it is very different. So it'll be
Yes.
interesting to see if like you ever watch it again and you're like, you feel a totally different way because of just the circumstances of where you are in your life. Yeah, I have an aunt who's like very pragmatic and whatever. So what she thinks happened is so funny, because it's like she's like, well, obviously it's this, because like for her that's the only thing could possibly be, because that's just how she approaches life, right? So that's been really interesting. As I said, I think it's like more of a gauge of just how you are and how you look at things. Like, what do you feel like is the most reasonable explanation for it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Mika says, yes, I love that commentary in the film from her viewers. So true. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Issa.
It's so it's a reflection of reality. Like that's one another thing that I appreciated about this movie. Like it was very real, even her personality. And then because we all know content creators, and they're not always in the best of moods all the time, but you're on that schedule and you got to push something out, and then you see that one video from your favorite content creator, and it's like, oh shit, are they going through
They're having
something
an
right
off
now?
day, 100%, 100%. Yeah, you feel it, right? And then you like find out later, like, oh shit, they were getting divorced or whatever, and you're like, it lines up with whatever. That's so interesting to know. I feel like you see that even with like hosts, in mainstream shows and whatever. It's like you could see that as well. It's yeah, totally. But it's all about like putting that best face forward, right? Being your like shiniest, brightest, best self for your viewers.
Oh yes, oh yes. Now I really enjoyed Lexi. I'm like I said, I'm gonna rewatch it. It's
Awesome.
such a great film. Now how was your feeling? When completing the film. Because you were writing. Behind the camera. You were so involved with the making of this film. It was your place, your dogs. So how was it? How was that feeling? When it was
Yeah.
finally complete.
So it's so weird. It was such a weird time in our lives as a world, really, right, going through COVID. And it's such a weird project to film because of that. So I literally filmed it over the course of months, because like my husband lives here too, he's working from home, like I still have my other writing gigs and my stuff I'm doing. So we were just like, I would just film like, okay, tonight I'm gonna do this scene and whatever in the vlogs, and film it like piecemeal over the course of months, which is like very
Yes.
weird in and of itself, not how we do things, right? So and then so much of it also we found in the filming of it, because like some things were in the script, and then when I actually went to film it, I was like, it's not playing right, it just isn't working. And then I'll have an idea when I'm shooting, I'm like, ooh, what if I try this weird thing and throw that in there? So much of it was found like during the making of it, because of the way that I made it. It was like that was an option. It wasn't like we had 5 pages to film today and we got to get through it and whatever. It was like I found a lot of it during the filming of it. And I know it's like weird, it's like it's a unique project or whatever. So because of that, strangely, I didn't have that like feeling of I didn't have quite that feeling of like being sensitive about my baby that I usually have when I write and create something, where you're like, my precious, like whatever. Because it was made in such a weird time. I was like, oh, I made a thing, like I don't know. And it wasn't something that I had planned to make. It was something I made out of necessity during COVID. So I didn't really have that sense of preciousness around it, which I wish I could figure out how to like make sure that I feel that way about everything, because it's a lot more freeing to not,
Yes.
you know what I mean? To just be like, I'm going to put it out in the world and see what happens, and like see what who it resonates with and see who likes it. So I'm always kind of like with Lexi, for some reason, I'm always kind of like, oh, great. Like I'm always pleasantly surprised by the reactions and stuff. And not everything is for everybody, and that's totally fine. But just because of like the unique circumstances of making it, I feel like I was just very open to whatever the possibilities would be, and however people are going to react, much less sensitive, as an artist. Because usually I'm like on my Erica Badu, I'm like, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit, right? We all are. It's hard
Yes.
not to be. So
Yes.
yeah, if I can figure out how to like not be sensitive about anything, that'll be great. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see about the next one.
Now, Mika says, due to it being COVID and filming being literally so close to where you are, did you find you were able to completely disconnect from the filming when it was done?
I was a little worried about that too, right? I was like, damn, I'm like in this dark place and like it's literally my house and whatever. And is that going to be weird? Like, is that going to feel weird? But it really didn't, for whatever reason. I was able to turn it off, and I think I'm really lucky that way as an actor in general. Like anyone who's been on a set with me knows, like I'm not an actor who needs to be like stuck in my trailer like thinking dark, deep, broody thoughts to like have to be able to do like emotional scenes. Like it's very accessible for me, so I can be my bubbly, dorky self, and then when cameras roll I can get into it really quickly. So that's definitely like a gift that I have, that I'm very grateful that I do. So I think for whatever reason I was just able to turn it off and turn it on and not be weirded out by my own house. Also, there were things that like I found really funny just because I'm strange, that like are creepy in the movie, but like for me it's so funny because the process of filming it was funny, or whatever is funny to me. So like it wasn't as freaky to me as I thought it would be. Like some things were freaky, but I didn't freak myself out too badly during filming. Fortunately, I was able to laugh at it. So
Oh yeah, I mean, there's there were certain scenes where but like you said, I'm just looking at the entire like landscape, and I'm trying to
yes,
figure out like, okay, what's going on, because
yes,
nothing would be going on in the scene per se, but I'm like, okay, what's
yeah.
going
Where's
on?
it going to come
Because
from? Something. What am I
yeah.
missing? What's whatever? Yeah, exactly. Like that feeling of like, what? Where is it? When is it? Totally.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now, how did you get into, because like I know you spoke a little bit, about acting and stuff like that, but how did you get into like filmmaking in general? Like what sparked your love for it?
Yeah. I mean, I've been a writer my whole life. I like short stories and poems and whatever. So I've always loved that. Like I said, I'm a creator too, like to my core. Like I love to be part of making things. So that I've
Yes.
always had. And what really drove me to get into writing and directing and filmmaking, in addition to acting, was really honestly frustration with the quality of the opportunities I was being provided as an actress, and the quality of the roles and the types of roles, and how I felt like that was not all I had to offer and not all I wanted to do. And
Yes.
frustration is a really big motivator for me. I get frustrated. I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to do my own thing. So that's literally what happened. So I just started writing and doing my own stuff. And I love it because it's really great to be able to step into your power that way and to set the tone on your sets, and like, bring other talented people on that are fun and creative to work with, and be a piece of it in a more active capacity. So that's been really amazing for me, to step into that. And I've been really lucky to have like an amazing writing partner that I work with a ton, and amazing collaborators. And what's great about filmmaking is truly such a collaborative art form, right? So
Yes.
everyone leaves their mark on it, and it is so different as a result of everybody doing their thing with it. It's so involved, and there's so many pieces to the puzzle, and that's really cool. It's really amazing to see like each step of the process when people are leaving their mark on it, and how different it is as a result of that.
Yes, yes, and it's so inspiring. Like, me watching the film and knowing that you're behind the scenes and in front of the camera, and to even hear the story now, like, you weren't getting offered, these certain roles, or they were trying to put you in a box, and you're just like, you
Yes,
know what? I've got to get out here and, just make it happen on my own. And
exactly.
from the film, like I really was impressed by your acting chops.
Thank
Like I
you.
really, I really enjoyed it. Like your portrayal of Lexi was awesome, and just not on one level. It was many
No.
layers to that character.
Yes,
You really
totally.
did your thing.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that is like one of the most fun parts of it for me, is to really be able to put, I've done my 10,000 hours of acting. I've put in my work. I know where I'm at as far as my skill. Not to sound that sounds really cocky, but do you know what I mean? At a certain point, you're like, I have done the work. I am, I'm going to the gym and staying in shape. So yeah, it was really amazing to be able to play in that, and have such an arc and a journey, and all the different experiences of the role was really fun.
Oh yeah. Oh, now another question I have is, how does it feel to just have your work be distributed, like on a mass scale? Because I'm just thinking, like, independent filmmaker, and just to have it available for everybody. That's gotta do something for you.
It's honestly kind of terrifying though, because like there's something like, and also because it's funny because like acting, you're putting yourself out there. You obviously you are, right? It's you and your face and your body and your you. But it feels much less vulnerable to me to be an actor than it does to be like the writer and creator and the actor of it. Because like literally this thing is me. It's like all me. And if you hate it, you hate all the things I did. Like it's, you know what I mean? There's so much of me in it. So
Yeah.
it feels very vulnerable to like put yourself out there as because as an actress, like I'm hired for a project. You know, I come on set. I am professional. I do my thing. I do the best I can. But like, it's not up to me, right? Like that's the double-edged sword, right? That's why I like filmmaking, because I have more responsibility. But also, like, so the final product, if I'm just showing up for like 3 days or 17 days of a role, it's up to everybody else making it what the final product is. You know, it's all I can control is my performance. But this is like everything. So
Yes.
it feels very, yeah. So it's very cool, but it's also like a little bit terrifying. You know what I mean? You're like, I hope, you know, like you like don't want to like, yeah. It's very interesting. Like you don't want to read all the messages and like read all the comments, and you know what I mean. It's like finding that balance of like I've people have been so nice and I've gotten so many like really kind things said to me, but there's also, you know, much like the internet is, there's also the other side to things. So, you know, you try to eat the meat, spit out the bones, take the good with the bad, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's you're always gonna have somebody, saying something about something, but you
No matter
gotta
what.
putting your art out there. It's a and that's the vulnerability of it, because
Exactly.
and because I think like as creators, like you're your own biggest critic,
Always.
in general. And then to have someone else come out and be like, oh, well, this, and you're like, well, motherfucker, I already know. Like I already
There's
know.
nothing you can tell me that I don't know. Or just people are funny on the internet too, because again, they have no idea of like the circumstances around it, you know, the making of it or the thing of it. And so they're like their criticisms are like, yeah, I agree, but like it was COVID and that's what I had to do and whatever, you know what I mean? So it's really funny. It's just funny, you know. Yeah, it's interesting when you're dealing with people's opinions. But I mean, that I always say, because now I stepped into so many different roles, it's like I'm always coming up with new and exciting ways to get rejected. So yeah, you know, it's like you can reject me as an actress, you can reject me as a writer, you can reject me as a director. It's so many ways to reject me as a filmmaker. So yeah, there's a piece of it where you just kind of have to get used to that and have thick skin. But what's cool is hopefully you find your people, you know, the people who like as a creator too. I think there's so many things you do that you're like putting into it, and you're hoping that like
Yes.
people will pick that up. You're like, did you pick up what I was putting down? Or are you picking it up? And not always, right? And that's fine. But sometimes they do, and they like spot on get exactly what you were going for. And you're like, yes, like somebody got it. Like they picked up what I was putting down. And that is my favorite, when somebody like completely gets it in a way that you really hope they
Yes.
would. Like you put it in there and you're like, I wonder if anyone's going to notice that. And they do, and they get it. And that's really fun. And hopefully too, you can find your tribe of people, you know, that have a similar point of view or a similar sense of humor, so that going forward, you know, those are your people and they can keep tabs on you. And, you know, hopefully they like the other things that you put out there.
Oh yeah, that's the beautiful thing about like the horror community,
Ah,
just
the best.
online in general. Because growing up like a fan of the genre, like sometimes we're looked at as strange or weird for loving
100%
this.
outcast, right? Yeah, and that
Uh-huh.
that has been my favorite part of this, because like I've created things in the past too, like you know, in other genres and whatever. And what's so cool about the horror community is that it really is a community, and like people just want more horror to get made, right? And so they're like so much more supportive in general and like appreciative of it, and they're just like, yeah, like this is cool, like I want you to keep doing things, like I hope you go on to bigger and better so you can keep making more things. And like that
Yes.
aspect of it has been so freaking cool. Like horror fans are the best. Like they're the best, and they just like there's a genuine love for it, right? So we all just want people to keep making good horror and like experimenting and trying new things. I think that's what's really cool too. It's like the even within the industry in general, like no one can figure horror out, because the rules that apply to the rest of the industry don't apply to
Not
horror.
not
Like
at all.
not at all. And that's amazing. So like everyone's like, well, horror doesn't ever need names in their movies to be big, and horror doesn't need this, and horror doesn't need that. And everyone else is trying to like bite on what they're doing, but can't figure it out. But it's because like there's a genuine love and like desire for the genre, you know what I mean? And they're much more open to like you taking risks and trying things and whatever. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be like we talked about at the beginning, right? There's so many subgenres even alone. So it's like
Yes.
it's not like horror expects you to be one thing and you have to be that one thing and that's it, or the fans are freaking pissed at you and they hate you. It's like they're open to like you trying stuff, you know? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and some people dig it and some people don't, but it's just a much more like encouraging and supportive environment than I found like doing anything else. And so that is by far is my favorite part. Like that is so cool because people are it truly is an awesome community.
Awesome, awesome. Now, of course, you've done Lexi. Like, do you have any future projects or future
Yeah.
aspirations in the industry of like what you want to accomplish?
Oh my
In
God,
the end.
so many. Yes. So projects. So we just wrapped a film at the end of last year. Or we shot it at the end of last year, and we just finished it right now. So we're talking to distributors right now, and it's another horror feature called Cold Blows the Wind, with
Yes.
me and Jamie Bernadette. It's about a couple that drives drunk and hits a jogger, and then they take him to a remote location to bury the body, and then strange horror-y things ensue. And it's also really about this couple's relationship like falling apart, and the different ways they want to deal with the situation they found themselves in. And it was so awesome. Jamie Bernadette was fantastic to act with and have on our set. She was such a joy. She does tons of horror. She's such a horror girl. I love it.
Yes.
So yeah, that was really fun. So that's what's up next. So we are literally right now talking to distributors and trying to figure out the best home for that and the best plan of action to get that out into the world. But that will be very soon. Writing the next script, always writing the next scripts. I mean, so many aspirations. Like, there's so many different ways that this business can look and things that you can do. But like, if I could be like a mini Blumhouse, that would be like one of my ultimate goals. So amazing, because I love how Blumhouse kind of exists within the industry and outside of it at the same time. Like,
Yes.
they're like doing their own thing. They're not playing the games like everyone else is playing, but they're like quietly just making millions of dollars on every freaking movie they put out, and they
Yes.
get these big names to do it, and like they don't need the names, but the names want to do it. It's a very cool thing that they do. And just his philosophy on like Jason Blum is like one of the nicest dudes in Hollywood, actually pays people what they're owed and doesn't have any shady Hollywood accounting, and just like their like practices as a company are really like legit and nice. So that would be amazing, to figure that out. I also like, there's so many things I love. I would love to have like a series. I would love to be like an Issa Rae or a Phoebe Waller-Bridge and be like the writer, creator,
Yes.
star of a series. Like, that is my dream. Like, anything on FX. Like, I love dark humor. So I love like, yeah, like the tone of Atlanta is so dope.
Oh my God.
So dope. Anything that's like dark and funny and whatever, that is my shit. So if I could be a writer, creator, star of something like that, that would be amazing as well. We do have like a horror comedy pilot that we did a short as like a proof of concept for, that we have in the wheelhouse too. So yeah, I have so many scripts and projects, like always, just kind of trying to put the puzzle pieces together of like, what can you get financing for, and like, what can you make easily, and like, what is to figure out what's next up. But yeah, I'm open to any and all good things like that. But yeah, those would be my two main dreams of dreams. Yes, more
Yeah.
women. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yeah. And especially horror too is such a male dominated field still, you know what I mean? In so many ways. So it's definitely, I think, a space where there's a lot of room for a more female POV. That's been really interesting with the demographics for Lexi, because like, I think because it is, it's me and it's like a female writer, creator, star, it's a very female POV. So our demographics have skewed much more even. Horror usually is like 75 to 80% the viewers are men. Ours is much more even, which is just an interesting thing I found in our like looking at our demographics or whatever of the viewers we've had. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because it takes a certain, it's got a certain tone, it takes certain chances,
Right.
and its star, is someone that we're not always used to seeing have this many layers, like in a horror film,
Yes.
it's like, oh, you've
Yeah,
got the
exactly.
prom queen, or you've got,
100%, 100%, exactly. You're ready to put them in like one little box over here, right? So yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And that's what's fun. I mean, that's very much a metaphor for my career as an actress, right? Like, people want to put me in that box because of how I look or whatever their own feelings that they put on me based on how I look. So it's interesting to be able to like break out of that and show different layers and show different things.
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
yes. Now my next question for you
Yes.
would be, we're getting into like the age of meta, and the
Yes.
metaverse and everything, and there's going to be a space for horror in that, so if I were to put on like my virtual goggles and step into
Ooh.
Victoria's world, what would that look like? Like, what would that look like?
In what way?
And like, if this is just like, I
Mhm.
guess like a horror aspect, like this is just your world. So you're creating the sky, you're creating the ground, you're creating the
Ah,
like a Sims, like Sims, but
yeah.
only, your
Yeah,
version.
what would my horror universe look like?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fun. That's very fun. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so I like again dark gritty, right? So I love like the muted tones and the you know what I mean, like the grays and the blacks and the shadowy and everything. Like
Yes.
there's like no sunlight in my world. Although in my real world there's much sunlight, but yeah, like that. And I also love like the pop scent of like neon. There's something really like really nice about like neon, grimy like signs and you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be where I'd start and I'd go from there.
That's that's awesome. But again, it goes with like what your theme is, like very grounded. Like you love things that are very grounded, but also moody in a sense.
Yes, totally, totally.
Tells a story. Like the scene pretty much like tells a story of what's going on.
Yes, totally. I know that, and that's actually one of the most fun parts of like when you actually have the money to be able to do it. Like filmmaking is like to pull up comps of like visuals of what you want it to look like and whatever. And as a viewer, I'm always paying attention to that. Like like I love the world they created here. I love the atmosphere. I love the color palette. I love the tones. I love it. You know what I mean? That's like because that so is such an important factor in how we are interpreting things, right? Like that tells so much of the story without anything happening, just the visuals of what we're looking at.
Mhm, mhm. It goes it just it there's a love for it, there's a love for it,
Yeah,
there's a passion there. There's a passion there.
totally.
Now my next question would be,
Yeah.
which is my last question for you for the
Dun,
interview,
dun, dun.
which I thank you for, rocking out with me
No,
and,
so much
answering all my
fun.
questions, but the last question would be if you could spend a day in the life of your favorite horror villain, whether it's a spirit,
Ooh.
a person, or an entity, like who would it be?
Who would I be in horror? Hmm. So yeah.
Like
These are
just a day in the life.
yeah, a day in the life. I mean, it would be really fun to just play someone going like a Freddy or a Jason or even a Jigsaw, just someone like fucking people's
Yes.
days up. Like I think Jigsaw's probably like the most sadistic about it. Like, so that would be very fun. But I also think it'd be dope. I can't think of a good example to come back and just like haunt somebody. But why can't I think of a good like who's a good ghost that haunts somebody? A good horror.
Uh, Bloody Mary, maybe
Oh
Bloody
yeah, Bloody
Mary
Mary,
would
maybe,
be,
maybe,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Because then it's like more mystery to. But yeah, I think basically what we're saying is I would just come back and fuck with people. Is that's the theme?
Oh, oh,
There. So a horror villain that is sadistic and likes to mess with people, which is all of them really. But yeah.
oh yeah, I could even see like a woman's take on like Candyman, like
Yes,
a female,
yes.
and just what that would say, because there's a lot of social commentary in Candyman.
So
So
much in
you put
Candyman.
a woman in there, it's like it takes it to a completely different level because you're dealing with a whole other list of things
Yes, yes, areas of complaints,
going
shall
on.
we say.
So
Yeah, totally. Candyman would be really that's a very interesting. Yeah, I wonder like is that gonna be a thing? That's a very interesting thought. I mean, people hate and I know people will be mad at that in this era of whatever, but like taking these horror villains but making them women, you know what I mean? Like we don't really have that many female horror villains, you know? Like
No, not a lot. Like the independent circuit, you've got
yes,
you've
for
got some
sure.
great ones. Like
Definitely way
one of
more
my
so.
one of my favorites is a High Tension. Marie, and I don't know if
Yes!
you've ever like she's one of my
Yes!
absolute
So
favorites.
good. Yes.
But on
Yes.
the main screen,
No.
and we don't really have a lot out there, if
No. So yeah,
if
so when you
any.
think of mainstream horror flick, we're like, yeah. And that's kind of also like what whenever brainstorming ideas and stuff, like I'm really into subverting things. So it's like expectations and ideas and whatever. So it's like if I'm gonna do like a kidnapping movie, it's not gonna be me that's being kidnapped. Like I'm gonna be the kidnapper, kidnapping some
Yes.
old rich white dude who like wronged a bunch of people or whatever the hell the case may be. But you know what I mean? It's like how can we turn this trope on its head and make it like interesting and different or whatever. So because I'm not interested in playing a victim, or I'm interested in playing the person calling the shots or whatever, right? So it's like that's an interesting. Those are interesting ideas to mull over. Yeah,
Oh
that'd be
yes. Oh yes. Mika
yeah.
also says yes, more female horror
See,
villains.
we want to see like this is not a horror movie, but it kind of is. Have you seen Promising Young Woman?
Promising.
With
No, no.
Carrie Mulligan. So it's not a horror flick, but Emily Fallon directed it. But it has like elements, it has elements of that in it, and she's kind of like exacting revenge on people, and there's a very like horror villain element to her, like in that classic kind of like more like a I spit on your grave, the kind of thing, right? Like that female
Gotcha.
exacting revenge. But yeah, those are always interesting. Like yeah, when you can explore those kinds of like subverted tropes.
It's just fun. It's just pure fun. Like I don't know if you've seen the film Dream Home. Like
No,
it's on Shutter right now, but it's about this woman and she wants this apartment so bad,
I
that
read about this one. Yes,
like
I'm not
I don't
watching yet.
yeah, I'll let you check it out. It's on Shutter
Okay,
right now. But yeah, I highly recommend
okay,
Dream Home. Yes. It's
okay.
I
Yes,
just showed it to my fiance and I was a little scared, because um it's very graphic and stuff like that, and I didn't like it's very left field, and sometimes like people may not always be into like the super left field, horror, but
totally.
she loved it, and
Nice.
pretty much everyone who I mentioned the film to loved it, so
Nice. There was the I think it's is it also Shutter? The one with the stylist who keeps like with the is it just called The Stylist? Is that
yeah, the style, yep, I've heard of the stylist, yeah.
yeah, that's a cool one with a crazy chick too in the lead or whatever. She's like, yeah, that's a good. I think that's Shutter. I can't remember where it is, but yeah, yeah, those are fun, 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 fun. It's cool. It's cool. We live in a time right now too where we're just having more opportunities for people to tell their stories, right? And so what's cool about that is like all the unique things that come out of that when you're able to open it up and have more people have a chance to give us their POVs, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes. It's just a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing. We got people like you, coming out here telling your stories and just being super involved and giving us a different perspective, and doing
Yeah,
something inventive. Like I said, this movie, Lexi, you did things that I really am not seeing a lot of, on the big screen
yeah,
or
and
on
that
the
was
small screen.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was like a big part of it for us. It's like, I haven't seen this done. Like, let's try that. Let's do this. And that's again, that's what's great is horror is such a great place to do that because horror fans are open to it. They're like, yeah, try that experiment, which is great.
Oh yes, oh yes. But I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I
Yes.
want to thank everybody who checked out the live, and I want everybody to check out Lexi if you haven't, and
Yeah.
if you have, watch it again because it's one of those movies that you just need to
See
watch
what you
again.
missed.
Because I'm
See what you
yes,
missed.
yes, I'm definitely gonna check it out again. And just dissect it, and it's available right now on Tubi and Amazon Prime. You can go check it out at your whichever one you choose, and make sure that you follow Victoria because she's doing a lot of great things, in the horror community and in the film industry. She's doing a lot of great things. I'm going to have her links in the description, so you can easily check out everything that she's got going on. But
Awesome.
thank you so much,
My
Victoria, for
absolute pleasure. So much fun. I love it. I love it. It's great.
oh
Thank
yes, and I'm so glad I didn't call you because this whole time, like I've because
you.
you did
Lexi,
such a great yes, you
fine.
did
It's
such
totally
a
fine. I'll take it as a compliment. It's all good. It's funny. I actually like people always want to call me Veronica, like more than my name. So I like
yeah.
have learned to respond to like any V name. I'm like, they mean me. Like Vanessa, Veronica, you mean me. So yeah, call me Lexi. I'll respond to it. It's all good.
But thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
You too.
All right, bye bye.
Bye.